Humans are programmed with a ton of instincts. These instincts compel us to do things we need to do in order to survive. And the way this works is that inside our own brain, we call these things desires. The things that make us feel good, the things that make us happy, the things we need to do to stay alive, make us feel good, because otherwise we wouldn't do them. It feels good to eat because we need food to survive. Way back in the day, there might have been some ancient cave people that didn't really like eating, and they all went extinct. The only people left over are the people that feel really good, doing the things we need to do to survive. It feels good to eat because we need food to survive. It feels good to have sex. It feels good to be in a relationship. It feels good to be in a positive, mutually enjoyable social environment because we need all these things to survive. But the holy grail of human desire is status, because way back in the day, whoever could be the most productive, whoever could get the most positive feedback for the results of their productivity, they rose up the status hierarchy and they had the kids of the next generation. So the prime directive, the one thing that everybody wants subconsciously, not necessarily consciously, is status. So anytime we do something that's tangentially related to status, it makes us feel really good. Whenever you're speaking in front of an audience, that feels good because that's an indication of status. Whenever you're talking to a group of people and you're telling a story and they're listening, that's an indication of status, so that feels really good. Whenever you give somebody advice and they accept the advice and they genuinely appreciate the advice, that's an indication of status. Whenever you're in a meeting at work and somebody mentions something you did in a positive light and everybody gives you positive looks of appreciation and validation, that feels really good. But here's the thing. When we are in the process of satisfying our desires, we get a burst of dopamine. But the dopamine doesn't come when we actually satisfy the desires. The dopamine comes when we are on the way to satisfy our desires, or more accurately, we think we are on the way to satisfy our desires. A lot of experiments have shown that the sweet spot is a 50% expectation rate of getting the thing, and that creates massive dopamine. And so just by talking to somebody about their desires, talking to somebody about what they want, eliciting their memories of past status tangential experiences will create that dopamine rush, and that will induce a desire to take action. As soon as we feel like we're in the proximity of satisfying a desire, this take action instinct will kick in, which is why just talking to your customers, talking to your persuasive targets about what they want is a very powerful way to induce a sense of let's take action to get this done. Now, most of our desires, or if not all of our desires, kind of have this kind of proximity status alert system. If we had to always think consciously about what we wanted, our brains wouldn't have evolved. Our brains are very, very much designed to work unconsciously and autopilot. So whenever we're not in the proximity of our desires, they kind of shift deep down into the subconscious or back onto the back burner. But as soon as we see an opportunity, poof, it pops up, and that's all we can think of. If you don't think you're hungry, you might walk past a bread shop or drive past an In-N-Out burger or a Five Guys burger and smell the burgers cooking, and now you can't think about anything but eating. Because the mind-body system, when it is in proximity of a desire, it says, this is the main reason for living. I need to do this above all else, and you can't get anything else done. You can only get this done. If you're walking down the street and you're not thinking about romance or sex, and you see an attractive person, and they look at you and smile, now that's all you can think about. You can't think about anything else. Now your mind-body system is take action to get that, take action to get that, take action to get that. Or if you're in a meeting and you're kind of daydreaming and somebody mentions you and out of nowhere you get all this positive recognition, and now you're like status, status, status. I need to do something to get more status. I need to do something to keep this good feeling going. And that's how our instincts work. The problem is that a lot of people in modern times They've not been in proximity to some desires for the longest time. And our desires are all really one-sided except for hunger. Hunger is a two-sided desire. It feels good when we eat, but it feels terrible when we don't eat, because individually we need to eat to stay alive. But all of our other instincts, all of our other desires, they're not going to kill us if we don't satisfy them. It feels good to have sex, but if you go a long time without having sex, you're not going to die. It feels good to have status and positive social relationships, but if you go a long time without having those, you're not going to die. And so what happens to a lot of people is they are out of proximity for these desires for such a long time, they start to believe that's the new normal, and they start to reframe themselves. They start to reframe what they think they want to protect themselves from thinking they want to get something they might not be able to get. This is the kind of the same reason why people don't set objective goals, because if you set a goal legitimately and you mean it and you try to get it and you don't get it, that might be terrible. So people would rather kind of just wish for magic to happen rather than setting a goal, because that allows them to wish for the magic without having to violate their ego integrity. So if you're talking to somebody, if you're talking to a customer, if you're talking to a persuasion target, and you're trying to elicit some memories of status, you're trying to elicit some memories of making good decisions, and they can't remember any, that's really because it's just been a long time since they've been in the proximity to do these things, and they've convinced themselves they don't want that. But if you're patient enough, if you look deep in their memory enough and find some tangential memories to status and social situations, they will start to feel those instincts, and you can wake them up in them, because everybody has these instincts. It's just that some people have gone so long without satisfying these instincts, they've convinced themselves they don't want them. And so if you were to blatant and say, what's it like if you imagine status in the future? They will say something like, I don't want status. I don't want that stuff. What's it like when you get positive social validation from other people? They will legitimately say and believe it when they say, I don't really want validation. But that's only because they've convinced themselves of that to protect their ego integrity, because it's been so long since they've got that positive feedback. But if you're patient, if you can dig deep enough in their memory and elicit memories like that and use the identity priming technique, you can put them in a really good mood. The benefit of your patient is, once they start to feel those good feelings, those good instinctive desires, they get that proximity dopamine hit just by talking about it, they will feel better than they ever have, and they will feel a massive compulsion to take action, which you can use to connect to your persuasive or your sales outcome.